we need to have a little bit of a money talk at Leeds United because, as we know, cash is absolutely essential at Leeds at the minute because PSR is always closing in, especially when you're getting lower revenues year on year on year because you're not in the Premier League anymore and you're slowly losing the more valuable players that you've got, and things are a little bit tough to deal with. But recently, a lot of word is spreading about a certain Brazilian player from our past and some financial discussions around him. So, in this video, I'm going to run through the truth on the £42 million that is rumoured that Barcelona still owe us, what the actuality of that situation is, and if we are owed any money at all, and ultimately any lessons that we can learn and what it means for PSR. So, first, to dive into it, we need to start by talking about where the rumours come from. So, specifically, this rumour sort of emerged when people were looking through Barcelona's sort of financial documents and going, oh, so they've got a nice big section on how much money they own for various players. Not own, sorry. And under Raphinha, it listed 42 million euros. So everyone, as a result of that, sort of went, oh, Barcelona owe 42 million euros to Leeds United. I guess that means we got a lot of money coming in, or they've not been paying their sort of owed amounts of cash. That's not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation, if you look at Leeds United's books, are that Barcelona don't owe us anything anymore, which I can completely understand is a very, very complex situation. Why is one set of books saying that a significant sum of money is owed, and another set of books is saying it's completely settled? We will have no more money coming in from this direction. In this situation, we need to look at sort of the reality of it and the way that these big debts tend to actually get sorted. So specifically, Leeds United have gotten all of the money they were owed in a way. Basically, Leeds sold the debt onto a company that will presumably get as much of that money as they can off of Barcelona for less than the 42 million euro sum of money. Because that's how debt works the majority of the time. The person owed the debt doesn't tend to pick it up. Instead, debt can get sold from person to person to person to person because debt is, weirdly, an asset depending on how risky it is. Clearly, that company thought that the amount of money that they could have paid us was going to be less than the amount of money they would have gotten from Barcelona, and they would have made a profit, whilst we still get our money in fairly sharpish. I feel like we will have done this, I don't know which specific year, but a couple of years ago to make sure that we fit perfectly within PSR regulations, purely because we need the cash. We were not a cash-rich side when Radrizzani was in charge, and we also struggled in terms of PSR. And it ended up that a lot of the time, the 49ers just had to throw money at transfers to make them happen. For example, the Jorginho return move. But that means that the reality of the situation is that whilst we aren't owed any money, Barcelona do still owe 42 million euros, just not to us, to some debt accumulation company. So everyone that was saying, oh, cool, Leeds are going to have a 42 million euro windfall within the next year or two, sorry, that isn't going to happen. And that also means that there are some further ramifications when it comes to PSR. So PSR, Profit and Sustainability Regulations, simplifying it in case you're not completely aware, clubs are allowed to lose a certain amount of money each year. Presumably, if we would have had 42 million euros, pounds, whatever, coming in over the next couple of years, that would have significantly lessened the financial blow of losing parachute payments, because parachute payments slide off from year to year. First year, 55% of what you get in the Premier League. Second year, 45%. Third year, 10%. That's a big slip off. And if we don't go up this season, that 45 to 10% is going to sting. And £42 million would be fantastic to have, but we're not going to get it. Because in theory, we've already got it. We've got what we're owed. So it means nothing for PSR, aside from maybe things are going to be a little bit more grim than some people expect. But then again, Leeds United's accounts and Leeds United's financial reports and stuff have been accurate 100% of the way through this. They've reflected the reality of the club situation, which I guess is what financial reporting is to do. But we also need to talk about the lessons that we have learned from this situation. And the first of them is, I would argue, maybe don't deal with Barcelona that often. Or specifically, don't deal with clubs that are in financial difficulties that often. Because Barcelona as a club, we all are completely aware Ain't looking too good. Every single year they sell off significant chunks of their media arm, which is wild in a desperate attempt to get some revenue to sign some more players. And do they sell players at a profit? Absolutely fucking not. That's not their way of doing things. Instead, it's probably best if we do what we did with Calvin Phillips. Deal with teams like a Manchester City, who are financially sound, and yes, ownership is not good. State ownership is very, very bad for football in general. But the good thing about the oil rich is they're also just rich. And they're happy to hand over the money on a schedule. I think what happened with the Barcelona situation is Orta and Radrizzani saw Barcelona are kind of in trouble here. What we need to do now is sell this debt onto someone, get some cash in, and that covers PSR, and fine, we might be 10 million quid down on what we should have had, or 5 million quid, or something along those lines. Basically, the debt collecting company's profit margin down, but it's something, right? And I feel like that risk doesn't exist if you deal with clubs that have a reputation for being good with their finances and being relatively comfortable. I say relatively. Relative is doing a pretty big job there. Relatively comfortable compared to Barcelona is me looking at my account going into an overdraft every single month. Like, that's the standard. It's not like that, by the way. It's okay. We're fine. But another lesson that we probably learned is don't do this, because short-term thinking is what got us into this situation in the first place. Short-term thinking is what made us go, okay, we'll do a 2-year cycle with Marcelo Bielsa. We'll buy in the first year and then do nothing in the second year. And that's why we entered a decline. And then the next year we're like, cool, another 2-year cycle. And we bought for Jesse Marsh. And then we got relegated. Think more long-term is what I'm basically getting from this. Because if you sort out a transfer thing and you're like, okay, cool, we'll do it in installments, trust that those installments are going to come, because you are, as I've just mentioned, working with more reputable clubs and not losing out on vast sums of money. Because having that debt collection profit margin now, this season, would have been great to make sure that we were able to sign the players that we needed. A number 10 would be really good right now. And who knows, maybe, in the words of Parag Marathe, that little funding gap was the difference between signing a player and not signing a player. Hard to say, hard to tell. And at the end of the day, aside from all the information and facts and stuff, that is just what I think in terms of the lessons going forward. I think we deal with more reputable sides. I think a better way forward is to sort of think long term and strategize properly, like a grown up football team does, rather than someone who gets their kid to design the kits. But yeah, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed. Like the video if you did. Subscribe if you're not yet. That's always really appreciated. And you could even become a channel member. 99p for a month, and you get videos like this one as soon as I've recorded them, rather than when I schedule them to come out the next morning, which is really appreciated. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Why are Radrizzani and all like this, man? It still pains me today. See you later.